GM. Welcome to Web3 Academy, your trusted source for useful and legitimate Web3 information so you don't fall behind in the internet revolution. I'm Jay Bird, and I believe that Web3 is going to change the world. That's why I'm here to guide the world's top talent down the rabbit hole as you contribute and capitalize on the opportunity. Welcome to another episode. Today is the deep dive. And I'm really excited to be deep diving with you guys on the 3 paths that I believe are going to fix our worldwide humanity trust problem. We've got a big trust problem. And this really stems from many different areas, but one of the key areas is the internet. The internet has no trust layer. In 1999, when I was 14 years old, I begged my parents to get this cool new thing called the internet. Why? Because I wanted to download music from Napster and burn CDs, mainly to impress girls. Not gonna lie, as a skinny, tall teenager with big front teeth, I needed all the help I could get. And then over the next 2 decades, the internet created tech innovations far beyond what any of us could ever have imagined. 4 of the 10 largest companies in the world were built during this period: Google, Amazon, Tesla, and Meta. And in our quest for unlimited access to content and high profits, we left one big thing behind. We completely sacrificed trust. Today, our lack of trust in each other is at an all-time high. And this isn't a world that I want to raise my kids in. A world where stealing from artists has become acceptable, where intermediaries take unreasonable margins from creators, where corporations are focused on extracting value from users, and where fake news and fake reviews are far too easy to create and impossible for users to validate. I believe that trust is the single most important gift that humans can grant each other. Trust ignites a powerful flywheel that leads to deeper relationships, stronger communities, and in the end, happier, healthier humans. Thankfully, blockchain offers us a chance to rebuild trust on the internet. It gives us a desperately needed trust layer from which we can build a new foundation for a healthy society and a functional digital economy. So today we're going to be diving into the 3 paths that can lead us there and how blockchain is going to do that over the next decade. But it's not going to happen without all of us participating and without all of us believing in better foundations for not just the internet, but for us as a humanity. But before we dive in, let's take a minute to hear from our sponsor.
The future of social media is here, and that future lives in Web3 on top of Lens protocol. Web2 social platforms are broken and ripe for disruption. You see, the epicenter of social media is the creators, and yet they are the most neglected. Web2 platforms like Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram are all essentially robbing creators of their worth. Creators are a new type of entrepreneur, forming new types of businesses. Yet with Web2 platforms, creators don't own their content or their profiles, and that's their product and business. Instead, they are tied to the platforms they choose to create on. Well, just like how crypto is freeing us from banks, Web3 is freeing us from these centralized platforms. On Lens protocol, creators own their content, own their profile, and even their social graph and followers in the form of NFTs. This allows you to move freely from one social application to another with your content, profile, and followers moving along with you. Lens protocol enables self-sovereignty for your social graph and interoperability across the internet. At Web3 Academy, we believe this is the future of social, and that's why we've partnered with Lens to ensure that the path of social media is heading in the right direction. Visit lens.xyz to learn more today.
Shared ownership is revolutionizing the way we think of digital ownership. Did you know that you can benefit from the utility of a Bored Ape Yacht Club, CryptoPunk, or Azuki without actually spending tens of thousands of dollars to buy it? How? By buying an access key to the asset. You see, with Segment, you can now buy and hold parts of an expensive NFT and share in its ownership and utility, like airdrops or exclusive access. As an owner of a high-profile NFT, you can distribute ownership with access keys and create liquidity for yourself. It's a win-win situation. Plus, the ownership and transfer of these keys are managed on-chain, which ensures transparency and security. Now, we want the Web3 Academy community to be on the forefront of this new wave of NFT utility, which is why we partnered with Segment, a non-custodial NFT platform set to launch in Q3 of this year. Segment aims to allow users to easily create access keys and share ownership of NFTs with other friends and community members. The team is going through their beta release soon and has opened up their waitlist for Web3 Academy listeners. If you want to stay on the forefront of Web3, sign up for Segment's waitlist today with the link in the show notes below. Shared ownership is a game changer, and we want you to be there first.
All right, why is trust so important for a healthy society? Trust is crucial for a healthy society because it provides a foundation for social interaction and cooperation. When people trust one another, they're more likely to work together towards common goals, share resources and ideas, and support one another during difficult times. Trust does many things, but most importantly, here's 5 things that trust does for a healthy society. It facilitates cooperation. It enhances social interactions. It promotes economic growth. It encourages civic engagement. And finally, it improves mental health. Without trust, our society becomes driven by fear, suspicion, and conflict, which can lead to a breakdown in social cohesion and hinder progress and development. And unfortunately, that's where we are right now, especially on the internet. Quite frankly, because right now we are online. And when we're online, we require trust. Now, in the next decade, we are going to make a migration from online to on-chain, which is going to enable us to be trustless on the internet. So online requires trust. Blockchain is trustless. Now, let me explain what trustless means. In the context of blockchain and cryptocurrency, the term trustless refers to a system that does not require trust between parties in order to function. A trustless system is one in which all transactions are transparent, secure, and verifiable without the need for a central authority to verify or approve them. In traditional financial systems and the internet, trust is placed on intermediaries such as banks, credit card companies, platforms, and other institutions to process transactions and ensure their validity. These intermediaries act as trusted third parties, and their involvement is necessary to prevent fraud and ensure the integrity of the transaction. However, in a trustless system like blockchain, intermediaries are not necessary. Transactions are validated and recorded by a network of computers using complex algorithms and cryptographic techniques. This means that the system is self-regulating and self-verifying, and there is no need to rely on a central authority to ensure the validity of transactions. The term trustless can be somewhat misleading since it doesn't mean that there is no trust involved in a blockchain system. Rather, it means that trust is decentralized and distributed across a network of participants, and transactions can be verified without the need for a central authority. So if we look back, what really created the problem of where we're at now is the fact that when we moved online, when we created the internet, we started to create more data than ever before in humanity by large exponential amounts. Well, what happens with all this data? It needs to be stored somewhere, especially all of our personal data. When you are now signing up for any app or any account online, you are giving them a lot of your personal data. Well, a company who acquires your personal data is required by law to safely store your personal data. In order to safely store your personal data, they need to pay a lot of money for safe servers, for safe storage, for cybersecurity. And that has put us in a position where our data is owned and controlled by all of these central institutions and central organizations. Now, quite frankly, I think a lot of people like to hate on all of the major platforms for putting us in this position, because what this led to was it led a lot of companies to be in a position where they owned so much data that they said, oh, wow, how do we monetize? We monetize by selling this data. They started an advertising business model where they would sell our data to advertisers in order to make profits. And for public companies, profit is the number one objective to their shareholders. So I think it's very easy to blame the platforms for this. However, let us step back. The platforms really had no choice. There was no other way prior to blockchain to store data in a safe and secure way. There was no decentralized network through which you could safely and securely store data. There also wasn't a way to verify data in a trustless way like blockchain gives us. So we are where we are really as a result of growth and innovation has taken us to this point. Also, the other thing that has happened as a result of us having all these different accounts is that we don't control and own our data. It is owned by each different app or each different website that you are constantly using and signing up for. And I'm not just talking about social media. I'm talking about maybe your doctor has an online app that they use to store your data through which you book appointments. That also is your data online. Maybe your local community center or your gym has an online portal or an app. They also are storing your data. Maybe any video streaming that you sign up for. Many of these online apps and accounts store and use our data. But right now, that data is not in our possession. It is in the possession of the company or we've signed up for that account with. And so that has led us to today, where we're at. And I like to look at this on 3 different paths, okay? First is the user path. So users right now are in a position where when we're online, we have this angry outlook of stop stealing my data. Stop selling my data. We want privacy. We want control back. And that's the current place we're in online. Now, if you fast forward 10 years, where I believe users will be when we migrate from online to on-chain, I believe users will be in a completely different mindset. The mindset will be a deep sigh of relief. I own my data now, and I choose who has access to it. A simple example of this is in 10 years, what will happen with blockchain is rather than you setting up an account on, let's say, Netflix, whatever the blockchain version of Netflix is going to be, and there will be one, whether it's Netflix themselves that disrupts themselves, or whether it's someone else that disrupts Netflix, rather than create an account on Netflix, what you will do is you will connect your wallet to Netflix, to blockchain Netflix. And when you connect your wallet, blockchain Netflix will say, this is the data that we would like to take from your wallet, that we would like to access from your wallet. And you'll say, yes, I approve. And then Netflix will be able to see whatever data it is asked for. But the data will remain in your wallet. Netflix will simply be able to see that data. Now, in the future, what you'll be able to do is if you wanted to stop blockchain Netflix from having access to your data, you'd be able to go into your wallet, you'd be able to see all the different apps that you have given access to your data to. You'd click on Netflix and you'd say, remove, no longer provide blockchain Netflix access to my data. And what will that do for users? Oh my gosh, we'll be in such a different place as users. We will trust the internet much more. We will trust platforms much more. Now, if we look at the perspective of creators right now are sitting there saying, give me some bloody credit for my work. Creators are sick and tired of not getting credit for their work. Fast forward 10 years, when we migrate from online to on-chain, creators will be saying something much different. They'll be saying, oh my gosh, I'm getting acknowledgement and compensation for my work. Wow. Well, how is that going to happen? Because right now, the way creators are creating things online, it's very easy to steal these things because there is no verifiable, secure, and transparent system. There is no trustless system. Now, we fast forward to a decade from now when we've migrated to on-chain, we have this trustless system. What does this trustless system enable? Well, it enables anybody to access and use or listen to or view a creator's work. But in order to do so, they might have to acknowledge that creator. They might have to pay that creator a fee. And this can all be set up by the creator. And this is happening in so many different ways currently. And I'm going to give you a few examples in a second when I get there. But right now, I just want to talk about the third path to fixing our trust problem, and that's platforms, okay? So there's three users on the internet, three stakeholders. We have users, creators, and we have platforms. And we all use and play in this wonderful sandbox of the internet together. So the final path is for platforms. Now, right now, platforms are saying, we want control. In this online world, they want control because control of our data gives them more monetary opportunities, gives them more opportunity to make revenue. And most platforms, for better or for worse, are aiming at revenue. Now, what I believe, the platforms that embrace blockchain, and I say this carefully because all of these three spectrums is, I think, going to take about a decade. I hope it's faster, but it's going to take about a decade. And there's a migration from where we are now online to on-chain. You can go and listen to an upcoming podcast next week where Kyle is going to break down the migration from online to on-chain. So watch out for that next week. But platforms that embrace the migration from online to on-chain, what they're going to be is they're going to be going from this current desire of not willing to give up control, of being scared to give up control. And I get it. It's scary. You're a platform, you want control. You don't want your users to own their data. You want to control the data. And that's scary. But if you embrace this 10 years from now, platforms are going to be saying, whoa, we have built a moat around our business that is going to last centuries. They are going to be more secure because by giving up control to users, you build deeper relationships. By enabling trust, by building trust with your users, you build community, you build deeper relationships, and that is a moat that is really the strongest moat that any business or any platform could have. So we're going to see a lot of businesses embrace blockchain in order to build this moat, which I am personally super excited about. Now, if we look at some examples of how this is happening right now in blockchain, how are we on this path of moving from online to on-chain, on this migration? So if we look at one organization that is making this migration, it's Gitcoin. So Gitcoin is a public funding platform, both a protocol and a tech stack that uses blockchain to raise money for public goods. And in the past, the current way, the online way to raise money is to do a fundraiser and have a donation page and anybody can donate. Here's the issue with that. The issue is, do you know what happens to your money? No, there is no way to verify what happens to your money. Is there engagement with the community, with the donors beyond just their funds? Maybe in some cases, sure, they could send you an email and they could try to engage with you, but not in the same way that they're going to be able to do in the future. And then third problem, how does the fundraiser, the charity, decide to allocate the funds that they have raised? Well, they don't do it with the community right now. They don't do it with the donors. They just do it with a board of directors, typically, with a committee that makes those decisions. And I'm not docking those committees and those board of directors. I'm sure many of them are doing great jobs. But let's look at what happens with Gitcoin, how Gitcoin manages this on-chain, because they've made this migration. With Gitcoin, a few things happen. First of all, you can see the funds. So you can see that you have donated the funds, and then because those funds are now on-chain in a wallet, you can also see where those funds are going to next. So you can follow the path and you can see that, wow, 80% of the dollars that I donated, let's say you've supported a program to build local basketball courts. $80 of the $100 that I donated went towards that local basketball court. That's amazing. Not this wondering how much money went to it, right? Second thing that can happen with Gitcoin is the donors can get involved. Now, Gitcoin doesn't do this itself, but I'm more hypothesizing what could happen with blockchain. So let's say I donate to this basketball court. The organization that's running this basketball court could say, you know what? Anybody who donated now has governance and voting rights over what the hours of the basketball court is, or over how should we hire a person? Who knows what they might decide to allow governance and voting, civic engagement to the community of donors. But they could do that because it's on chain. And because it's on chain, you are enabled to give your community voting, to give them governance, and do it in a secure and transparent way. And then finally, the other thing that Gitcoin enables is when I donate to a basketball court, let's say that Walmart is trying to build 20 basketball courts around the world. And I donate to this campaign because I believe in basketball. Now, for me, I live in Canada, close to Vancouver. So I say, okay, I would prefer that the basketball court is built in Vancouver. That's the community that I'm part of, right? So let's say Walmart puts up $1 million and then donors like myself also put up $1 million or whatever it is, 100,000, whatever that matching donation becomes as a result of individual donors. Well, now what Gitcoin allows you to do with the power of quadratic funding is that where the funds are allocated to which community is based upon the number of community members that donated from that community, not who had the deepest checkbook. So it's not, oh, one person wanted a basketball court in Seattle and they donated the most amount of money. It's no, there was 100 people that donated from Chicago. Okay, clearly there's the most amount of people that would value a basketball court in Chicago. That's where the fund should go. That's where the majority of the fund should go. So that's what quadratic funding does. And Gitcoin is really using blockchain to repair our trust problem. And in this case, it's repairing the trust problem with users because users have this ability to say, wow, I can now transparently follow things. I can see where my money is going. It is helping with creators because the creators can now say, oh, wow, I can participate in this program and get acknowledged for it. And it's helping platforms. In this case, the platform would be Walmart. The platform would be the business that's putting up the money. It's helping them allocate their dollars in a better way. Huge, huge things. Another example of this path that we are taking is Audius. Audius is a Web3 blockchain-based Spotify. It's a music listening platform that enables creators to have a much better experience. And let me tell you how. When a creator puts music on Audius, they are then paid in the form of Audius token. And here's what's different about that compared to Spotify. Currently on Spotify, artists are paid in dollars. There's actually, I think there's about 5 currencies that Spotify pays out to artists, depending upon where you live in the world. But let's just say it's US dollars. 2 problems. One, it takes about 6 weeks for an artist to be paid out through Spotify. 6 weeks. It's too long because there's too many intermediaries in the way. With Audius, because we're moving on chain, we don't need all these intermediaries. It's trustless. So artists can be paid out much, much faster, which is great for the artists. Second thing that Audius enables, because it's on chain, is it enables the artist to be paid out based upon the impact that they have on the platform in an immediate way. Now, currently, most music is owned by 3 major labels. And so artists get squeezed because their labels are getting most of the money, because Spotify has to pay the label in order to have that artist on Spotify. Well, if an artist is able to go directly to a user using a platform like Audius, where they don't need a label, they can post their music on Audius and any user can listen to it, well, then the artist has a way to get paid for listens, because the listens are recorded on chain, and on chain is trustless, which means that that artist can verifiably know that they are being compensated for the number of listens. In the past, that wasn't possible. We needed labels, we needed banks, we needed all these intermediaries to verify this. But now, with things like Audius and music going on chain, we have so much potential. There are so many other examples. There's examples of DAOs moving on chain, MakerDAO, creating a financial tool on chain, which they can coordinate with thousands of people all around the world and create a business. Coordination with thousands of people around the world wasn't possible previously. The only way to do it was to do it through a corporation where you have a board of directors who vote and who make decisions for the entire organization. One of the key things here is the treasury management. The old way to manage finances was either you're a public company, in which case you have to publish your books, or you're a private company and you never need to show your books. I want to say something I think is really important. This isn't just for the case of blockchain. In general, we need to encourage more transparency with our finances. Having non-transparent finances naturally leads humans to make dishonest decisions, unfortunately, because we are a money-driven society and a money-driven culture, particularly in North America, but also around the world. We will make decisions, if we can, to favor ourselves financially. However, if we move our finances on chain, and I'm not saying you need to move all your finances on chain. I'm not saying every business needs to do that. But if you take that step, if you aim to be more transparent, and the easiest way to do it is to be on chain, you will have users that trust you more, and you'll have creators that want to be part of your community and want to amplify what you're building. They'll want to create more around you. And that's what we're seeing with large NFT projects who have been so successful. They've made these incredible communities, and these communities trust the brand because of the fact that they're on chain. And another really great example of this migration from online to on chain is look no further than Lens and the social media movement of Web3. Actually, before I mention that, before I forget, speaking about finances and being transparent with finances, my digital marketing agency, which I co-founded with my co-host Kyle over 3 years ago, since the beginning, we have every month published our revenue for our entire team to see. We put it in our Slack and our entire team can see. This was a very, not controversial, but definitely a different approach to running a business. Not a lot of businesses do that. Not a lot of founders start a business and say, hey, every month we're going to share revenue with the entire company. But this simple decision, and it's not hard to do this, but by doing this, we have created a culture and a community within our team that is built on trust. They trust us and they trust each other because they know that we are transparent in everything that we do. And it starts with that simple thing. So I really encourage businesses out there, small, big, move more towards transparency, and using blockchain is a really easy way to do that with your finances. So going back to Lens and Web3 social is another great example of the movement from online to on-chain. It shows that what will happen when we move our social graph online is 3 things will happen. 1, we will own our data. No longer does Facebook or TikTok or Instagram own our data. We own our data now, because with Lens, any post, any interaction, any engagement that you take on Lens is an NFT. It becomes a one-of-one NFT, and that NFT is in your wallet. So you own it and you control it. So users will feel a sense of privacy, a sense of ownership, and a sense of security like never before. Creators will be able to monetize their community, not just monetize their community, but also engage their community in new ways. Right now, the creator made a Facebook group. You don't own that Facebook group. In fact, Facebook could rug you at any time and decide that your Facebook group is no more. They could remove you from Facebook, and then you would no longer have access to your Facebook group unless you have many backup admin accounts. Or they could remove your group from Facebook, and your entire business, your entire community is gone. The same is true on Reddit, although we are seeing Reddit is disrupting themselves. Reddit is moving towards social tokens for communities, which would enable the owners, the creators of that community, to have ownership of that community. So that's a big step that Lens will allow for the social media graph and for creators. And then finally, platforms. I think it's natural to think that platforms aren't going to support blockchain, but let me go back to what I said before. And when I say platforms, I mean existing platforms. What I said before was that platforms right now don't want to give up control. They're scared to give up control. And I get it. Giving up control is scary. It's not an easy thing to do. We know that in any area of our life, let alone business. But those who do give up control to users will develop a moat around their business. And those platforms that do that in the future, 2 things will happen. 1, this moat will make you strong enough to last for centuries. So you won't have to worry about constant growth marketing, because you will have a community that is so passionate about you, that loves you so much, that they will be your marketers. They will amplify your brand. They will bring in new customers through word of mouth. And that is huge. And the other thing is platforms won't have to store data anymore. And it is fascinating. On a previous interview we did recently with Tim Boss, who's the CEO of Sharing, who is a digital identity blockchain, he said that in conversations he is having with a lot of existing enterprises and corporations, they do not want to own data anymore because the cost of securing it is so expensive. So he is seeing so many companies come to him and saying, hey, how do we move on chain so we can decentralize our data and we don't have to pay so much money to secure it? So you're going to see a lot of benefits for platforms as well. Now, I want to be clear. These 3 paths that users, creators, and platforms all need to take to migrate from online to on-chain over the next decade will not just happen as a result of blockchain and the trustless system that it enables. It's not enough. As humans, we need to push the values of Web3. We need to live by the values of Web3, not just in our on-chain endeavors, but in everything we do. We need to encourage transparency. We need to focus on community building. We need to enable self-sovereignty. We need to remove middlemen and encourage each one of us to take control, to take ownership of our stuff. In order to do that, we need a lot of education. And that's why Web3 Academy is here, obviously, is to educate you and make sure that you understand what all of these things means. And finally, we need to embrace decentralization. And let's be clear, there is many aspects, many pillars to decentralization. There's decentralized storage, there's decentralized identity, there's decentralized teams. all of these areas of decentralization will take time. It's not as simple as moving to on-chain. We also need to create new systems, new frameworks, new business models to enable a decentralization to take place in all of these pillars of the internet. And I also don't necessarily believe that decentralization is the only way. In some areas, centralization is a good thing. I've been speaking to founders recently. I was speaking to KlimaDAO, who is one of the leading climate change DAO. They are bringing the carbon market on chain, and they are talking a lot about the balance of a decentralized team versus a centralized team. Over the last year, they've actually centralized their team more. Now, a big part of that was the fact that we went into a recession and their token price went down, and so they actually had to cut their team. But in cutting their team, they realized they were able to make decisions faster, and making decisions faster is a good thing. So there's a real balance between decentralized and centralization. And I'm not going to dive into where on the spectrum we should fall, but I think we all need to embrace, right now, we are too far on the centralization side. Everybody knows that. We've gone too far in that direction. We need to embrace the decentralized side and go more in that direction. And when we do this, when we embrace this, when we show up in a more honest way, when we aim to build trust, when we accept and support each other, not just in our business endeavors, not just in our on-chain endeavors, but also in life. And when we encourage all humans to be open and transparent, this is how we change the world. This is the way that over the next decade, blockchain and beyond can create a better world for our children. This is how we leave our mark. This is how we make this world a better place for our grandkids. Thanks so much for listening today, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive. I hope you take a minute to think about how you can make trust a more integral part of your life, both by moving online to on-chain, but also by embracing the values of Web3. Have a great week. Jay Bird out.
Thank you for listening to Web3 Academy. We hope this helps you along your Web3 journey. And if it does, please share this episode and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Nothing in this podcast was financial advice. Crypto and Web3 can be risky. You can literally lose it all. In fact, if you invest on account of what we say, you probably will lose it all. So don't do that. In all honesty, the point of this podcast is to remove the noise of markets and price and focus on utility and implementation anyway. So you should not take any of this as financial advice. Thank you, friends, and see you in the next one.